I've been, I've had, oh God, you've got me going now. I've had this project in my mind for about 4 months now. So I've been traveling back and forth to Australia because my mum has dementia, and we've been looking at sort of the care for her, and I wanted to see her. So I've been sort of twice a year going back to Australia. And a lot of the times when I'm home, all of mum's friends want to tell me these fantastic stories about mum. They're really interesting stories and I love them, but I don't always remember who told me what, and I sort of get a bit lost in it all. And it's quite overwhelming to be home as well. So, I'm there for a couple of weeks and it's very intensive. So, um I was flying back in February, and um I was kind of thinking about, where do I put all these stories? Because they're not for socials. They're not anything other than for me and sort of my family. And I thought, I don't really know of anywhere to put them. So I designed it. So I came up with this whole thing called Remembering Your Life. Um, and it sort of evolved from having conversations with you actually initially, and you were going, oh my God, I've had this idea for a couple of years as well, tied to this, and I didn't know where to put it. And it was like this whole thing just kind of fell into place. It was lovely to do actually, because I kind of felt that you sort of think of an idea and then you go, is this a good idea? A
And
lot of
then you
people go,
talk to someone, and I had never told you about how I
no,
felt like I wanted to help people record their family histories.
yeah,
Um, uh, because, and for me, part of it as well, like obviously, I my family history is very complicated,
yeah.
but
You wrote a book about it, for God's sake.
but at the same time, I also don't know a lot of stories about, yeah, about my family. Like my aunt sometimes tells me stories about her parents, but I don't know a lot of those stories. Um, and I think it's such a shame that we don't know these, or they don't survive through the generations, right?
Yeah.
So I had been thinking about, oh, how do I do something around this? And then you came with your beautiful plan for remembering your life. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
yes, please, can I be part of this?
And I think there's a window of about 20 years right now where if we don't capture stories, we're going to lose a lot, because in the generations before us, they wrote stories down. But we don't do that anymore because we're in an instant society where you just our stories are a paragraph, and a paragraph doesn't
Yes,
really
they
give you
are
enough
30
information.
seconds, right?
and
Yeah.
and it's such an instant society, but we still have all this information still available to us to share, our lives, our families, and often it's like there's always an image without context. And we seem to have a lot more images without context, 'cause it's so easy to take a photo now. But in the 70s and 80s, it was expensive because cameras were expensive. Getting them developed wasn't all that common until I think the 80s, when Kodak kind of came in
Even
with their
then,
instant
but even
cameras.
then, like when we would take pictures, because I still took pictures that had to be developed.
Yeah.
And so you thought about it more, even just because you couldn't take 10 pictures of your food and then just decide which one was the best one. Like
I
that's
know.
not how photos worked,
How
right?
mad how mad would your mother have been if you had have taken all these photos of the same thing, and she would have gone, "What a waste of money."
Exactly. And
Yeah.
also just like that was why the last two photos of the film were always so fun, because you could kind of waste them, right? Anyway,
Yeah, so film.
now
Film
I'm
is this
now I'm
film is
starting to
this
feel
thing that
old.
used to go into the camera. I know, but we've got, so there's this brilliant photo, and it was my grandmother and her three friends flew around the world. So they're in Australia. They hopped in, it was this, I don't know, was a biped plane or something or other, and they've got a photo of the four ladies in front of it with their 1929 frocks on, ready to board this plane for adventures in Europe. And it because you had to have money to travel too, so it wasn't that common for people to travel, or you'd be on a boat for three to 6 months trying to travel from Australia to anywhere, and there's nothing fun about that. So the fact that we've got this photo of her traveling, I thought, isn't that incredible? I can't talk to mum about it anymore. I've lost the opportunity to sit down with her and find out a bit more about what my grandmother did because she traveled the world. She had all these stories, but amazingly, Mum kept the letters that my grandmother wrote to her sister, and from like this stationery from being on board the boat or from a hotel in Paris. And there I read one out to you the other day, and it's kind of just, the base. It's how we would have a conversation essentially, but it was so beautiful to have her handwriting on a piece of paper. I don't know if I actually write much anymore. I mean, I scribble down notes and things, but I don't sit there and write a letter to anyone. There's no effort made in communication anymore that I feel like
I
that
recently
I'm
had
doing.
this conversation, like how fun it is to exchange postcards and just to have a handwritten note of
Mm,
someone that um the literal words that this person used were like it's so nice to have in someone's handwriting, um that they think that they are happy that you exist in this world. And so
oh,
I took a postcard the next day and wrote on it, "I'm so happy that you exist in this world," and gave it to the person.
oh,
Because also that is
yeah,
true. But yeah, I have that as well. Like I have notes from people who have passed and notes that they've written me, and it's so and I know that you, like, if we can scan these things in and like add them to the stories, I for me, this kind of stuff, it's all about creating not just the context but also the texture of life, right?
yeah,
it's this is reminds us that these people were also people and had the same kind of concerns and experiences as we did. And it changes how we can see the context of our life when we
yeah,
know about their life. And it's so beautiful. I'm so honored that you are letting me be a part of this, and especially because it's such a personal project to you as well, right?
yeah,
Like it's so, this comes from your own life experience, and I think it's an incredibly valuable idea, and I'm so glad that we got to put this out in the world and make it available to people for them to capture their family history and their
yeah.
family stories. It's so
I'll
important.
I'll tell you a little bit about how it works.
Yeah.
Just because it's quite new to me too, so I've got to start talking about this. Practice. So what it is you create a page. So you've got a singles page for one person, a couples page, because some people have been together all their lives. And you've got an in loving memory page. So someone who has passed away that you still want to gather all their stories, you can do that in this format. And so the idea is that you can put things like people's favorite stuff. So if I created a page for myself, I could list my favorite movies, foods, all of that sort of stuff can go in. And then for people who do have dementia, Alzheimer's, or possibly end of life, um, you can then log where you are. So, for my mum, she's currently at home, but she might move into a hospice at some point. So we could actually put the details of where she is and how to keep in touch. So I thought that would be great for even places where, you know that they're in some town, but you don't know where. And so the family can keep the collective family updated on this page without having to phone someone and have a chat with them about where they are. And there's sensitivities sometimes around someone going into care, that you're not prepared to talk about. So the idea is that you can do it on this page. And then the brilliant thing about it is we'll give you a book of that person's life or the couple's life. And you take the book with you. So you sort of set a page up for a year and ask the family to contribute. And the pages are, we're not going to index them at all in Google, so they're not to be found. They're only for the family, and you get a unique URL. So you share that with other people. You can update the page as you wish, and then at the end, we'll put it all into a book, so all the stories get compiled, and then you can download that book. So that's kind of the way that it's working.
And I think as well, like what's important to say is that when people contribute, like there's one person who will be responsible for what goes on the page or what doesn't go on the page.
Yeah.
So you can't, if someone contributes a story and you're like, I don't want this to be part of it, it doesn't have to be part of it.
That's right, yeah.
Um,
We've got filters, so someone's responsible for signing off anything that goes into the book. It's just a safeguard, as you say, for if we don't want anyone to be the book is a positive thing. It's someone's life, and you don't want to have negativity, lewd, messages, anything inappropriate for that person that the family will have for the next 50 years. I mean, it really is to be a legacy book for people. And a
And
legacy for them to be alive right now, to still get those stories and tell them themselves.
yeah, and I think as well, like one of the things when we spoke about early on, while we were, in the process of working out what this was going to be, is that these people, especially when people have dementia and they are losing their own memories and they can't quite access them, for them to then have a book that's about themselves that people can read to them,
Yeah,
and especially when they have to go into care, and it can be made available to nursing staff
yeah,
so that they also understand the context of that person and can share their memories with them. Is it's such a beautiful way as well to provide anchoring for the people themselves.
yeah. And I mean, my hope is that people will try to go back and have a conversation with the family about the stories, get a photo out and say, "Oh, tell me about this photo. What is this?" And really put it into context. So there is a story behind it. I've got some lovely stories about mum, but I'm only telling them from someone telling me about mum. I want that person to actually write the story for me because they have so much more color and detail, to the story. So I feel like we're in a window to do this before we lose a lot of information that we might never get back because
Mhm.
we've lost the context.
Yeah.